It's the next level.
I am so going to enjoy killing you someday.
Lila, darling, would you give us a minute, please?
Yes, the grown-ups need to talk. What is it you want?
Do you like jazz, Bud?
I'd rather lick a cheese grater.
Jazz, like a beautiful woman. Complex, emotional, hard to please. She doesn't just give it to you, she makes you work for it.
I'm really hoping that you're going somewhere with this.
Under my leadership, the commission would sound more like jazz.
And what about the board of directors?
Well, that's where you come in.
Nope. No, it isn't.
In exchange for the assassination of the board, I'm willing to get you and your family out of this timeline and back to 2019, where you belong.
Hey panelers, welcome to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we're going to be covering Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 6, A Light Supper. And I don't think it was a light supper because it was all
I don't
over
think
the
anybody
place.
ate anything, actually.
I think drinks were thrown around more than anything.
Yeah, I think there were drinks and a what do they call that thing on the table was destroyed. The fruit thing on the table was destroyed. So what do they call that? Centerpiece. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word centerpiece. The centerpiece of the table was exploded by Vanya.
Or an appetizer.
Or it might have been an appetizer. Yeah, it might have been either one. But I don't think anybody actually ate anything. So.
No, I don't think so either. But yeah, that was pretty funny though, in that respect, in that scene. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, with the synopsis on this one, it's Allison gives Ray a peek at her powers. Dave visits Klaus's compound. The handler offers 5 a deal. Again, really? She's constantly offering him deals. And then the siblings meet their father for dinner.
That's pretty accurate synopsis.
Is, pretty much. It's straightforward. You know, it's like basically straight 3 sentences.
Yeah. Some of these synopses have been spoilery, and this one's not really spoilery, so at least that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that over there on Strange Indeed, Rima has said that she's not reading synopsis anymore because prior to watching the episode because it just gives too much away. So.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. A lot of things happen where you read it and you're like, oh man, but then you would think that people would have watched the show. The show's been out for a while, and I'm sure that Rima would watch the show before she actually podcasts.
I'm sure there's lots of people that have binged it already, and even people that are sending in feedback have already binged it, so
yeah,
we're not getting any feedback, but
no, I checked this week. We it's all dependent. I've noticed that, and I've interacted with a few of our listeners, and they stated to me that they're not the type to send in feedback, but occasionally
and that's
we'll get
fine.
we occasionally get feedback from our friends, which is cool.
And by no means do I want to discourage anyone. We love hearing from our listeners. We love hearing from our friends. We love hearing from our friends who listen and everything. So it's great.
Yeah, if you guys feel the need to send in feedback, do so. Don't be shy about it. But if you don't, you just like to listen, like I know a lot of you are, then do so. That's fine. I'm happy with it. We just have fun doing this. That's the whole point. So with that, we should really get into our top 5s.
Absolutely.
Wonder if it's too late to be unadopted.
Why don't you start?
All right, my number 5 would be seeing Allison's entry into the 1960s and being embraced by the ladies of the salon. She made her way to get there where she is currently at by being herself without using her powers.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to see that whole story unfold about Allison and when she first showed up and then brought in by these women into that salon and being embraced, and that history was amazing, and the fact that she winds up meeting Ray within the salon, and that was her salvation. Well,
Right.
she was all alone. Ray gets her to start talking again. I think she was just holding back due to the cut that she got with, from last season. At the very end, Vanya cuts her throat. She has no voice. Just to recap about that. And then on top of that, she's still trying to find herself within that time.
Yeah.
But she also needs somebody, and Ray gave her that. And he gave her basically the strength to move on and to live, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a great scene of her, running from. It's so subtle that we realize that the racial lines, racial barrier lines, whatever you want to say, are very close together, because she literally runs from one side of town to the other side of town. She gets chased by those white guys into the salon, and immediately there's like three white guy racists, and suddenly they're faced by however many were there, half a dozen or 10 black people who are like waving scissors at them and telling, and you suddenly get that moment of where the white guys are like, okay, do we do something or do we leave? And they just kind of leave. I thought that was great.
Yeah. It was a nice look at that time and where they were at within those times too.
Yeah.
It's something for us to realize and understand.
Absolutely.
Especially what's going on around nowadays. And I understand from that point of view from my friends, but, you don't know it unless you experience it, and a lot of people experience it, even still to this day.
Absolutely.
But it was a good thing to see, and also an educational thing to see.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 5 is just a quick one about Klaus, and I wonder if Klaus realizes that he changed the timeline. It was very quick and very subtle of what we saw in there, but when Dave, and I know we talked a little bit about this, that we were kind of confused about Dave's enlistment and him saying that he'd already enlisted, and then we get the actual story here. We find out that he was supposed to enlist on November 22nd, the day that Kennedy was shot, but due to Klaus interfering there at the diner, his uncle takes him to the recruitment office earlier than in that original timeline. So it's an interesting thought of maybe things have changed dramatically in just a short time, and so that original timeline, that timeline we saw in episode 1, may not still be happening. It's a conundrum. It's a time travel paradox conundrum.
An alternate timeline at this point, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's interesting to see what's going to happen the rest of the season. I'm excited for it, and can't wait to see how things wrap up.
Yeah, same here. That was part of my number 2, but I'll add on to that. It was really nice and cool to see that Klaus was giving him the information. Oh, your favorite book is Dune. He goes, what is? I never heard of it. And it's like, oh, you will, and you're welcome. And he throws the bottle. Yeah. And he knows that, it's like, oh, you just eat a plain burger with pickles. Well, that's not anything new, and it's kind of average. And then he starts going into other things just to show that he knows who he is and that they know each other and they've been together before. And, that's, I think he got across to Dave at that point. And on the fact that, yes, I think you and I speculated about this before, where I said, it's like, he had already enlisted. Remember, we had a conversation.
Right, we had that conversation about delayed enlistment and whether November 22nd is the actual day that he left or not. But here we get it clear.
It's confirmation. It's
confirmation, because Klaus says, no, wait, you weren't supposed to until November 22nd. And even though Dave doesn't pick up on the fact that Klaus was predicting his future, Dave confirms that, well, yeah, I was going to do it next week, but because of this, I did it now. And so we've effectively changed the situation. So it's almost like there's a glimmer of hope that maybe when the siblings, or if the siblings get back to 2019, is Dave going to still be alive? Is the knowledge of what's going to happen to him, does it change we'll have to just see if it changes his relationship with Klaus. If it changes his time in the army. If it changes his death, we'll have to find out and see. Because I absolutely love that line, and it's something that it's not. We don't really talk about it a lot today because there's been so much anti-government and kind of anti-military kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But when Klaus tells him that you're going to die in war, Dave says, "Well, that's kind of why we do it." And that's not exactly what he says, but it's a thing for just about every veteran I've known.
It's an unsaid word stating, "Yes, I am dying for my country. I'm putting my life there." Yes.
Yeah, I remember years ago before I retired, one of the things that they talked about with veterans was they said that we took an oath and we basically signed a check to the United States of America saying, "I will give my life if I have to."
Yes.
And that's really what we had done and so as a veteran, I appreciate what he said, and I hope other veterans can appreciate that patriotism. Because I know when I joined in 1989, it wasn't a super popular thing, but then we saw a lot of kids join after 9/11. We saw a lot of that kind of stuff, and now
even during the Gulf War itself, like like the first
in the early
beginnings
90s,
of it.
we saw some.
Yeah,
right before that
Desert
was right
Storm.
after. Yeah, Desert Storm right after I joined in. So it's going to be interesting to see if this does change the timeline enough, or what happens here down the line, or if it ever comes up again. I hope we see Dave some more. I hope he comes back again.
I have a funny feeling we probably won't see him the rest of the season to some
maybe
degree.
Maybe
not.
But
maybe next season. You never know. Klaus might eventually meet up or see him or happen upon him.
Yeah, like I said, I'm wondering if what's going to happen towards the end of the season, if they're able to change things, if we'll find out, and then maybe next season, like you said, he'll turn up of being I did something different than what I was going to do that would have got me killed, or we'll see. So
yeah, I'm hoping for that and hoping for the best of it.
So did we get to your number 4, or are we?
No. I just kind of tagged on with
we're still
part
on
of my number
5.
2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So my number 4 would be Diego's stand stating that there are no numbers anymore in the family. I guess it's like you're not number 3, you're not number 2, you're not number 1. It's all just Team 0. I think it's his way of saying that they are just family and that they all stand together with, this whole situation.
Yeah.
And then, trying to get to Hargreaves and stop this situation. Now that Vanya is not crazy, psychotic, killing spree.
It was actually pretty funny the way that whole conversation went, because Luther's the one who actually says Allison calls Diego number 2, and Luther's like, "No, there's not numbers anymore. We're Team 0." And then she kind of looks confused, and Diego goes off on his whole spiel about no numbers and all this again, like he did last episode. And then Luther's like, "You don't have the shell." And he snatches it away from Allison and throws it off into a corner somewhere, and we hear it smash. It's just a hilarious kind of scene to where I just loved how confused Allison was when Luther's like, no, we're Team 0. So my number 4 is the whole Allison and Ray thing. We speculated at the end of last episode what was going to happen when she told him the truth. And, we kind of see how she kind of shows Ray how using her power can kind of take a dark turn. But there was also something interesting going on, and maybe it was just a misstep by the writers, or maybe it was just to show us how her power works, that when she's talking to the manager in the diner, she only says, "I heard a rumor," once. She just says, "I heard a rumor that you served us." Mm-hmm. And then from then on, she doesn't use those words anymore, but yet he is so in her thrall that he pours the coffee in the cup, and she just says coffee black, and he goes and gets it, and she keeps saying more, and he's overfilling the cup, and Ray is trying to get her to stop, and then it's not until she looks away from him that he stops pouring the coffee and runs over to put his hand under cold water, and that burn looked bad.
Oh yeah, it was.
So it was really interesting to see how powerful she was. And then, of course, when they get back to the house and Ray starts questioning her, my heart just broke when he asked her, did you use your power on me? And she told him no. But then he says, well, if you had, would I even know it? And we don't see the rest of that scene. All we see the next thing is Allison there joining with the others at the restaurant. But yeah, it broke my heart to see that, and I hope these two characters can stay together, but it's not looking good.
It's hard when it comes to that.
It seems like it seems like every time she's in a positive relationship, it goes awry because of her powers.
Yes, yeah. Look with her daughter.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's horrible because in season 1, she lost her relationship with her husband and her daughter because she had used her powers. Here, she loses. I don't know for sure. She might lose her relationship because she didn't use her powers.
Correct.
And she can't. There's no way she can convince him that she didn't use her powers on him. So
yeah, and I have a little thing to add on to that with Allison using her powers. When you say, I think I heard a rumor is pretty much a trigger to her power. And everything else is subject to her mental thoughts. And anything she says after that just becomes like,
Yeah.
In that way, an aspect of like an influence verbally.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like with a little bit from Jessica Jones with
Kilgrave.
With his Kilgrave's power.
Yes.
Whereas his though was
word or anything he says just
right.
Is
he didn't
his
even
power.
have to preface
Correct.
it. He just had that power of suggest. And so I think you're right. It's probably partly that once she gets them in that suggestive mode, she can basically say anything to them until she chooses to break the connection. So.
Correct. Yeah, it's once they're in that thrall through that first sentence just to get them engaged. And that's it. And then they're whatever she needs until she breaks it herself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're on to my number 3.
You're number 3, yes.
Well, I really like that Lila is in love with Diego. Come on. You saw that during the bingo game with the handler. The handler was basically poking her about it. And you could tell she has feelings for Diego. It was a funny scene.
Yeah.
Plus, the handler won.
I thought this was my number 3 as well, and I just thought the whole scene was hilarious, but it was also really, really good that we keep getting these kind of one-on-one scenes between the handler and Lila. That I think is really great. That they reveal so much about the characters, but they also reveal some stuff about the story as well. Like this is where the handler tells her that you have to have a scapegoat if you're going to do a coup. You have to have a scapegoat, and then she basically figures out, like you said, that Lila's in love with Diego, and even though Lila's trying to deny it, you can definitely see that the attraction is there for sure. And so that's I've got some more about that later when we get to notes. But yeah, that was my number 3 as well. Just how excited she got about winning, and I just when she slaps the table and she curses at everybody, and they just kind of all gasp and look at her, and
it's like, oh great, this lady won. Oh no,
it's like it's like she got this so much enjoyment out of it that I thought it was pretty funny. So yeah,
it's kind of quirky, like when we watch Preacher and certain characters in that as well. Too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my number 2 would be Ben being able to get into Klaus. I already spoke about the other half of my number 2, but, we get to see him jump into Klaus at certain points. But then again, he does it at the dinner with Hargreaves. He needs to, say something. He just jumps into him, possesses him for a moment, just a moment. And I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, it was very, like Ghost, like the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, where he jumps inside of somebody, and except it seemed like there was definitely they both kind of fell out, and I'm assuming that no one was able to hear him when he said "I'm Ben," or nobody was able to pick up on it
or understand it.
Or understand it because he was being so he was slurring and everything. So that's unfortunate because again we're stuck with this whole. I still don't know, and I hope we get some sort of explanation of this of why Klaus is not telling them that Ben is there.
I think this is going to be ongoing for a while.
It just doesn't make any. It's one of those things that it's really bugging me. And just about, I was listening again. I'll give another plug for Strange Indeed, their coverage of it. It's like this is the big question that everybody has: is why is Klaus not telling the others about
he keeps hiding
Ben?
it.
and somebody, one of their listeners gave a feedback about the fact that didn't he see Ben in that first episode when he was in the future? He saw Ben fighting, so he should know that Ben is there. But it's that was such a quick scene that he got before Hazel popped him out of there.
Yeah.
That who knows if he actually did see Ben fighting or knew it was Ben. There's a whole lot to that, but I definitely this is one of those kind of C plot questions of the season that I hope it gets worked out by the end of it. So where does that bring us to your number 2? You did your number 2.
I did my number 2.
My number 2.
Correct.
My number 2 is just it's Reginald Hargreaves and that whole scene in the restaurant. We've talked about it a little bit, but it revealed a lot about him, that he had the resources, because he talks about that he checked up on all of them. He knew everything about them. Obviously, he had found where they all were, which I think is really interesting because he didn't even know about Vanya. Didn't he? Did he even? I don't even think.
No, I don't think we even saw anything.
I don't know
never
how
reached
he knew.
out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so how did he know even to find Vanya?
Unless they tracked 5 when he went to go look for her, or
yeah, maybe I don't know. It's one of those things that I found interesting because Sissy shows up at the end because the envelope came to the house.
Yeah.
And
Reginald Hargreaves is such a mysterious person, though. We still don't know much about him.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
and that's what we're saying. So it was interesting that we get this idea that he's definitely got some reach. He's got some pull.
Yeah.
He's got these strings. I loved how they went around the table, all kind of explaining their powers. And he was like, "Well, I have to see evidence of them."
Yes.
And so the first thing is Diego throws the knife and it curves in the air and misses Hargreaves, and Hargreaves taunts him like, "You're 0 for 2."
Yep.
And then Diego tries to attack him, and he sees 5 teleport, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then what was it? 5 says Klaus can commune with the dead, and he says that Luther has super strength. He says that Allison can make people do anything by what she says, and then Diego jokes, "Well, she never uses it," and she says, "I heard a rumor you punched yourself in the face."
And he punches
So Hargreaves gets to see that work.
And then Vanya actually does the utmost thing. She taps. They're like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no!"
Yeah, don't do Vanya's because hers could destroy the world. And I've got control over it. She taps the glass.
Yeah, which is it's really cool because now that she has control over her powers.
Right. But it still is a little shaky because she blows up that fruit, and I'm sure she didn't mean to just blow up the fruit. I'm sure she meant to do something different there. But yeah, so it's and then Luther, taking his shirt off and "You did this to me,"
Oh yeah, he stood up to him. Yeah,
and it was just one of those things I thought was interesting. And Diego kind of gets back his stuttering.
Yes,
because he's kind of, and this is where it kind of takes a dark turn, even though it's a callback kind of season to 1, as we see Diego and his stuttering coming back. And then I didn't realize it until the 3rd time I watched it, but has she been sitting out in the car the whole time?
Yes.
Like he came to the restaurant and told her, "Hey, wait here. I gotta go take care of something."
Exactly.
And went inside. I'm like, seriously?
He was
left
probably
her?
like, I'll be 15 minutes. And then an hour later, he's back. "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah, Diego's knocking on her window, and she's like, "Are you following us?"
Yeah, I had that in my notes. And then the fact that Diego actually questions her about Hargreaves and how Reginald is, and then she's like, "He's not a bad man," and then he goes, "I think you're wrong," and just basically gives her a little bit of information just to watch out for her.
Yeah, he shows her the picture, but there's the thing about showing her the picture and saying what the picture means
exactly.
Doesn't really tell her anything because she doesn't have any proof that that's what that picture.
Well,
she knows that it's Hargreaves, but
Yeah, exactly. And my question is this gonna disrupt the timeline as it is with her?
Yeah,
Maybe,
who knows?
why did she disappear after a while?
Again, we don't know that. We
Maybe
only know
that
that she's
changes that, and maybe that's something for season 3 that we don't know. Who
yeah,
knows?
all we know is that at some point after this, she is no longer around, and when Hargreaves needs a nanny, he builds that robot in her likeness.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. I love the little conversation. I've got a quote from it when we get to the quote section between Five and Hargreaves, kind of at the bar, where Five is just trying to convince him to help them out, and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do anything. And I just that whole back and forth, and then I love that Hargreaves says the same thing about time traveling that he said in season 1 when he was scolding Five when they were kids.
Correct.
And he was telling Five not to do it, but except this Hargreaves kind of gives him some advice and says, well, start with seconds.
Small.
Yeah, not start with seconds.
Literally, it's
minutes,
almost
and
like
then-
baby steps. He's just like saying, hey, just
Yeah.
take baby steps in this. Don't jump.
He's like,
don't take a giant leap.
yeah,
Take small steps.
And I love that Five says, I don't have the time for that. And
Meanwhile,
and,
he's like,
and I'm thinking, you're talking about time
Time
traveling.
travel.
What, get it through your thick skull. You've got all the time in the world. And, I hope I'm going to go back to our conversation a couple episodes ago. If they do the Bill and Ted thing with this, I'm going to be so disappointed in the writers. If they're like, well, this happens because I went back in time and did this. And
Yeah,
I must
yeah.
have remembered to go back in time and do this
Do
because
this.
it happened.
I think that would be way too much for them to do, and that would take too much writing and too much time.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll do that. I think with Five is he's so impulsive, and that's why he thinks he doesn't have the time for it.
Yeah.
I just want it now. I
Mhm.
don't want to deal with learning how to do this. I need to
Yeah.
have it to work now.
And that is interesting that you say that character, that part of Five's character, because the song that's playing, as they go to the restaurant is "This is what you want, this is what you get," kind of thing. So that's an interesting take on his character.
Yeah. Well, that would lead me to my number 1, which you pretty much summed up all over. I just love what Hargreaves, though, states to Five when they're having, it looks like scotch or whiskey or something at the bar. And he goes, wow, you've been more helpful to me than you were when I was younger. And he goes, no skin off my teeth, old man.
Right.
Meaning acknowledging him as an older man, because Five brings that up too, stating, he goes, I'm older than you.
Yeah, I've got that quote in my notes. So when we get to the quotes, I've got that down there. Yeah, that's really it's really interesting that this version of Hargreaves is almost. I mean, he's still a jerk and he's still a kind of a bad guy to
he's a
his
dick.
children, but yeah, this is a different Hargreaves and what we're going to see in the future. My number 1 is just that a lot of this episode was setting us up for the rest of the season, I think, and for the next episode. And it was so, this was, I think I say this every week, this was so difficult not to go on to the next episode because there literally is everything, because Diego gives Grace the picture, Vanya and Sissy, they go off, and we see that her husband is kind of watching them. Elliot being tortured by the Swedes. And that bloody message that's left on the floor, that I did look and see that it is the title of the next episode. That bloody message that was left on the floor is the title of the next episode. And then, of course, Five showing up at the handler's room and accepting her deal and getting the little card telling him when the board is going to meet. So, yeah, just a lot of setup for the rest of the season. And we've got, 4 episodes left, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's still a lot of story left to tell. But we're definitely coming to the climax.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, and to say that, it's hard not to binge or anything. To me, as soon as I started, it's like a roller coaster ride. You just don't want to stop until you get off, But then again, it actually helps me because my memory is always terrible. I could remember certain things after a while because my memory is very short. Yeah, this came out, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And basically, I brushed through it and within 2 or 3 days. And then I do the rewatch, and there's things that I pick up that I haven't picked up before on little nuances.
Yeah.
And a couple of watches as we do this helps me out too. So it's a good thing when you do stuff like that, because there are
Yeah.
certain things you just don't pick up on the first watch.
Exactly. So we've got some notes here that we haven't covered yet.
Sure. Yeah, the handler coming to the Swedes in the sauna. Basically she's setting something up for some sort of long-term plans, but I think really deep down she just really wants Diego gone. She doesn't like that relationship between Lila and Diego at this point.
Yeah, and I had that in my notes that you were right. I think you were the one last week who called it. You said that the whole reason why she's making them focus on Diego is because she wants to get rid of him because of the influence he's having on Lila, or Lila's romantic relationship. So give that thumbs up to you there.
Yeah,
you figured that one out. I think all of mine we've talked about. Well, I didn't say this, but Luther's still eating, but nobody ate anything at the light supper.
Yeah, he'll always be eating.
The only thing that we haven't really talked about is I absolutely loved, and I noticed it the last 2 times I watched it, that Ben's reaction when Klaus comes clean to his cult about being a fraud, and all of them are like, I am a fraud.
Yeah.
And he just walks away shaking his head going, I tried, man. And Ben just can't believe it. Like, everything this guy does just works out for him. And it's
regardless even if he's just being honest, it's like, oh, I'm just going to be like, yeah, hi, I'm an alcoholic. Oops, wrong one. It's like,
yeah.
All right.
So we've got some quotes as well.
Yeah. Actually, I should start off with the first one because I just started it.
You did.
Klaus saying, hi, I'm Klaus. I'm an whoops, wrong group. And his confusion of where he is and that was just after Ben attacked him for saying he wasn't altruistic.
Yeah. My first one is just the 5 at the beginning when he's talking to the handler and he's still got his foot on Lila's neck and he says, planting her in a psych ward, taking advantage of my simpleton brother, that was smart. So kind of giving her a compliment at the same time while he's almost killing her daughter.
Yeah. The last one I would have would be the handler saying, do you like jazz, 5? And 5's like, I'd rather lick a cheese grater.
Ew. So the last 2 that I picked up that I really liked is that after Dave apologizes to him, Klaus says, it's good for the ego to take a punch every now and then, I say. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then, of course, I alluded to it earlier when Hargreaves and 5 go to the bar to have their little drink. Hargreaves says, you seem to be the sensible one of the bunch. And 5 replies, well, that's because I'm the oldest. Technically, I'm older than you right now. So,
yeah.
But, actually, we don't really know how old Hargreaves is. We do know, I mean...
He still looks old then in his 60s.
Yeah, not as old as he did. And so it's still not clear what his age is, but it's still, I thought that was a great...
Maybe he's alien.
I mean, I think that's what was alluded to in that last. I didn't get a chance to go back and rewatch the opening, the cold open of episode 10 of season 1, but that's what it's alluded to. I thought was that Hargreaves was kind of an alien on an alien world when he's there with his wife and he releases those lights into the sky. But we'll see. So we don't have no feedback. So why don't you give us some comic news?
Sure, but before I get into that, I just want to say that the one aspect of the episode that really bothered me, Elliot.
Oh, that was sad. I really was hoping.
Sad. That was like a sad moment, and cheers to Elliot. I wish he was around
maybe
longer.
he's still alive. We don't know, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was dead. Come on, he had something in his eye.
Yeah, you're right. I forget. Yeah, he's probably dead. Yeah.
He's gone. He's dead.
Poor Elliot.
Poor Elliot. So with comic news, well, a lot's come out. So a lot of people have been testing positive for COVID-19. Robert Pattinson has tested positive and has paused the production of the Batman movie now for at least a few weeks. So they have people being quarantined. The Rock came out as well. So him and his family tested positive, and he did a big announcement on Twitter. And then Merle himself had come out and stated that from The Walking Dead, Michael Rooker. He tested positive, but he showed on his Instagram and his Twitter and his Facebook that, he's negative now. So a lot of people are getting hit hard with this that are in the industry, and it's affecting the industry of filming and everything else. And they're all doing their best to take care of themselves so that we are entertained. So I'm just glad that they caught it and they're taking care of it. And I just want everybody else out there to be safe as well. So that's the only news. That's some of the news that I have. That's the only darker news, everybody. So keep that in mind. The next part would be the Walking Dead comic will be available in color on October 7th. And it will be called The Walking Dead Deluxe. And it will be monthly like the original comic. So unlike the original comic, which was black and white when you opened the comic book and you saw every panel, it was black and white. Now they'll be all colored panel inserts. So if you have a pull list and you're interested in The Walking Dead, or you love The Walking Dead, or you never got into it when it came out, get the Deluxe series when it comes out and get it weekly. If you want to spend that $3 a month or $4, depending on what they put it up for. So I intend on to get it myself, but it's kind of weird because that'll be just rereading a story I've read already, but it'd be interesting to see it in color at this point.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So the last part would be The Boys Season 2 came out on Thursday instead of Friday. But apparently they are releasing episodes every Friday now. So we got a sneak peek on Thursday, even though they said, hey, it's coming out on Friday, but you got it on Thursday. So, and Steve, you said that they were going to be planning to put one episode a week?
Yeah, that's they dropped the first 3 this weekend, like you said, on Thursday. And then they're going to go weekly starting the 11th. They'll be weekly, until, if I've got it calculated out, the last episode will drop October 9th. I think that's what I saw on, depending on how they do it. So
cool. Yeah, it's really interesting because if you listeners remember when The Boys first came out last season, they just dropped the whole season out and everybody just binged it like crazy, like you would do on Netflix.
Yeah.
So you had maybe it has to do with something with visual effects and things of that nature.
Yeah,
or maybe they just wanted to try something different. Who knows?
Could be that. Could be just with new content, they want to be keeping new content coming out constantly instead of dropping just a whole.
Yeah, it might be a change.
Once, so
might be a game changer.
Yeah.
Who knows
we'll
when
see.
Cobra Kai comes out and eventually in 2021 for season 3, and then maybe they'll do that
I'm
weekly.
sure. I mean, they might not, but I'm sure Netflix will do what they've always done.
Just drop it all at once.
Yeah, drop it all at once because that's the Netflix's kind of thing. Both Hulu and Amazon have done both. They've done weekly and dropping a whole season of stuff. So
Interesting.
With their original content, or maybe Hulu did it week to week, and I guess Amazon has been dropped. This will be the first time Amazon is
Tried
doing
something
one.
different. Yeah,
trying something different. But I would be surprised if Netflix doesn't drop the whole season 3 at once. But
Same
we'll
here.
see. You never know.
Yeah.
The only podcast recommendation that I have is, we already talked a little bit about it, was that TV Podcast Industries has started their coverage of The Boys Season 2. They have dropped, I believe they've dropped all the first 2 episodes of their podcast review.
Mm-hmm.
And they will...
and if you go on there, listeners, too, they have a pub quiz, which is pretty cool. So
are they doing the pub quiz for this?
Yeah,
for the
yeah. I
boys?
actually looked at it. I'm like, oh, man,
Okay.
I watched all 3. But
Yeah. I'm going to have to
I
jump on there and
I didn't
and try
catch
to
something.
see it.
So yeah, it's fun to work with those guys because they're really up to date. They get their stuff sooner, and I think it's because they are a legacy style podcast. They've been around a long time, and they're based in the UK, in that area. I think in Ireland, England, Scotland, and they've been doing this for years. So they have a little, extra incentive because I think they get their episodes early.
They've gone over 500. They've gone over 500 episodes now with all of their different shows they've done.
Yeah,
so.
those guys are great.
So that's all I've got. TV Podcast Industries this week.
Yep. I only have a couple. House Podcast guys, they are doing Cobra Kai Season 2 now. So listen to Rima, Jason, and Richard with their views of the episodes of Season 2. Check out House Podcastica. And the last one would be Run for Your Lives on the Pyrocore Entertainment Network. Their second episode has come out, and they are covering Cloverfield, the movie. So that's my network that I have. And keep in mind, listeners, Panels to Pixels will remain on the Next Level Podcast Network. So there'll be something else later I'll talk about regarding what's going on with Pirate Core. And for YouTube recommendations, I would say the Grim Life Collective, as always, with Michael and Jessica, as they continue to do their Up All Night with the Grims. That way it gives you something to watch and interact and have fun with friends online through YouTube, plus their original content. So they have been building and creating more content for their YouTube when they go and travel to filming locations and things macabre in history. So they like to go to certain things that have happened. I've mentioned it before, Lynyrd Skynyrd's crash site, the graves, things of that nature. They're interesting, they're fun, they're good people.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So as always, you can send your feedback to us. We are on just about every podcast player of choice you can think of. I usually forget to say Podchaser. I don't even know what that one is, but there's a lot of them out there. You can find us. Just search for Panels to Pixels Podcast and give us a listen. Check out our website at panelstopixelspodcast.com. Also, our Facebook group is facebook.com/panelstopixels. You can email us at panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1, the TO spelled out right there in the middle, and the number 1@gmail.com. You can call us and leave a voicemail, or just call us and leave us whatever. At 845-350-2095. Again, that's 845-350-2095. And to the telemarketers that keep trying to call us to give us cars insurance on our cars, please stop. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard those. It's pretty funny.
We're also on YouTube under Panels to Pixels Podcast. Go there. You can subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and just whatever chance you have to give us a rating, that would be lovely. And send us the feedback, any of your feedback for the Umbrella Academy Season 2. If you've already watched the whole thing, just go ahead and mark it with whatever episodes you're sending to us. Next week, we will be covering Season 2, Episode 8, which is Oga for Oga. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's got the little umlaut thing, the
Yeah.
2 spots above the O. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But that's next week's episode, and we'll be talking about that next week.
Yeah, definitely. And where else can listeners hear us? Well, I can be found right here on Panels to Pixels, as well as sending out audio feedback to other podcasts that I love that my friends do. You can also hear me on a new podcast that we'll be releasing in a couple of weeks called Adrenaline Cinema, and that will be on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. The podcast will be based upon action-adventure films, pure action films, and anything to do that gets your adrenaline going while watching a movie. You know, those particular movies that get you going, that you love, that puts you on your seat. And like I stated before, Panels to Pixels will remain on the Next Level Podcast Network. Stay tuned to here, and we will keep you up to date, or just check out our Pirate Core Entertainment website. And the way that is it's Pirate Core is spelled CORPS, and it's entertainment.com. So if you go there, you could check out Run for Your Lives podcast. There's a link to that, to their particular website, and you could actually listen to their particular episodes on there. And the same thing will happen for Adrenaline Cinema as well. So keep in touch, listen. If you have any feedback regarding that, you could always send it here, or you could send it to Pirate Core Entertainment.
And as always, I send various voicemails to various other podcasts and things, and you'll hear my voice pop up on the shows that I love.
Awesome. Well, that's our show for this evening. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.